Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. This is going to be my entry into Jacob's contest, New Sounds and Old, I believe is his new channel name. He put up a contest the other day, and I actually didn't see the video, but Red over at Redco Music, one of my subscribers that has watched my channel and has left me so many comments, time and time again on so many of my videos. He had seen Jacob's video and sent me a link. He thought it was kind of a cool contest and it would be one I would like to jump on. And sure as heck, I mean, Red, I appreciate you sending me over the link, and definitely wanted to kind of jump on board this particular contest. Love Red's channel as well. Again, it's Redco dot not Redco.com, Redco Music, and just looking at even the his avatar alone just kind of sums it up, because he's in the music and he's in the travel and airplanes, and those are like my two biggest passions right there. He put me around music, put me around airplanes. That's the easiest way to turn me back and bring out that 5-year-old kid inside of me, or a 10-year-old boy inside of me. So definitely connect with Red on that. So yeah, so thanks for hooking me up with Jacob's video over here. And yeah, Jacob, like I said, want to jump on board and do a response to your contest. Get that new channel started off right. So haven't done one of these in a long time, but kind of a nice, simple, show two albums, and just based on his channel, the New Sounds and Old. Um, he wants to show some new sounds, albums that have come out within the past 12 to maybe 24 months, and then also show an old album, something that's at least 20 years or more. Uh, so yeah, and it's always kind of weird to do these videos because I was just digging through my collection for about 30 minutes or so, just trying to think of what I might want to show and what kind of fits in those categories. And it's really weird because it seems like in the music world, you tend to find two types of people, where you have like this one type of person that thinks like everything they listen to is like so unique and so like nobody knows this group, and you know like that type of thing. And then you also have this side over here, which is like everybody knows everything that I have, just so it's kind of funny because when I start doing or looking for things to show in videos like this, I always find myself over here, because when I look through my collection, I feel like every single thing I have in my collection, everybody already knows about it. Everybody already has it. And, it's like there's everything I have is the absolute most common stuff in the entire musical world. But then when you start talking with people about stuff and sharing albums and that type of thing, it's kind of like your mind is kind of blown when you realize no, people actually don't know this band or don't know that artist. And it's really kind of a weird headspace to try to get out of sometimes when just, trying to talk and share music kind of thing. So thinking about that, uh, it's kind of that thought process is how I came up with these two albums, because one is an album that I really think is a very common album, which I've been discovering is not at all. Um, and then the other is just kind of diving into a genre that I feel is not as common in the VC. So I don't hear a lot of talk about 80s R&B in the VC. Okay, so with the old album, we're going to start with some 80s R&B, and we'll go right here with Loose Ends. And again, I'm curious if this is a band that any of you have heard about or kind of dig or anything like that. This is Zagora from 1986. And yeah, just the easiest way to really kind of describe this band is I've always seen them as somewhat of a, kind of like you have, artsy rock, that type of thing. This is kind of artsy R&B. You know, they were, a really cool band. I think this album came out in '86. They had a, another album too right before this, which I think I might say it's a better album, but anyway, um, yeah, I've always really liked them. They the R&B that they did is not one of those like, oh baby, I want your body, what I'm talking about, that kind of R&B. But this was definitely more kind of following the same thing that was going on with new wave at the time, on the pop side. They were incorporating a lot more synthesizers here. There's some different jazz elements that pop in on certain songs where there's horns and things of that nature. So they really were kind of being just a little more kind of artsy with the R&B side of things. Um, you had Carl McIntosh, who was the basically the lead singer, along with what's her name, Jean? Oh, no, Jane Eugene. Sorry, mixing her first name and last name. Were kind of the two main lead singers, and then Steve Nichols was the one that just kind of did all the electronic drums and the synth stuff and all of that. But yeah, really cool band. This is again from 1986. If you haven't heard them before, the first two songs I recommend checking out off of this album are the number one is Slow Down. It's probably their biggest hit off of this album. And then on the previous album, there's the song which is probably their biggest overall hit, which was You Got Me Hanging on a String. So those would be the first two tracks I'd recommend checking out. If you want to kind of hear, just get a quick sample of how some of the jazz elements work their way into what they do R&B wise, the song "Who Are You" is probably a good one to check out on this album. So yeah, that's what I'm going to use as my old. Again, like I said, we don't talk to, at least I don't see as much chatter on the VC about kind of the 80s R&B time frame. So I just thought that might be a neat one to show, and I would definitely be very curious if you guys have heard of this band before, and if you have, if you kind of dig them or not. But so that's Loose Ends from 1986. Now for the more recent album, The New Sounds. Again, the main reason I picked this one is because, well, let me just show it first. I'm going with Western Stars by Bruce Springsteen. This came out in 2019, so pretty recent album. And one of the main reasons I picked this is, working at both the two record stores that I spent some time at. It's really been kind of mind blowing, and not mind blowing from the sense like I can't believe you don't have, but mind blowing for the sense like, oh really? Like I never would have guessed that kind of thing. Where there are tons and tons of like some pretty heavy Bruce Springsteen fans that absolutely love him to death and that type of thing. Um, that have not heard this album. And so it's just something really interesting about that, how this album just kind of came out and it was, I guess, a little bit kind of under the radar, and it just kind of got released, and that was that. And, we just had Letters for You just came out a few months ago. So there's already the next Bruce Springsteen studio album has already come out. And this album just kind of, just really, people just blew right by it. And I kind of did as well until, you guys know Billy Hurst here in the VC. I did too until he just was just ranting and raving about it to no end. And I was like, well, shoot, if Billy sees it that way, I need to go check this freaking thing out. I mean, uh, based on the way that he was talking about it, I just went out and did a complete blind buy. And he was absolutely right. I mean, this might be one of the top 3 or 4 Bruce Springsteen albums for me now. I mean, that's just how good this album is. And yet, like I said, there's so many people that come into the shop all the time that are gigantic Bruce Springsteen fan buying Springsteen albums. And we kind of get into talks and ask them like, what you think about Western Stars, and haven't heard it, haven't. So I thought this would be a kind of a good one to show in light of that. And of course, I'd be very curious if you've heard it and kind of what you think about it as well. So definitely let me know in the comments below. But Bruce nails it on this album. He's kind of going back to some of like the softer, not softer, but more of the mellow acoustic guitar stuff that he did like on Nebraska. Was that's kind of more the feel that he's going on this album. But one of the things that he's doing here is, and he does in such a brilliant way. I mean, his lyrics are already just absolutely moving on this thing. The pictures that he paints just like emotionally takes you right to what he's describing and talking about. But it's his use of kind of the orchestra and the strings and kind of the big band stuff that he incorporates in it, because you'll listen to it and swear it's such like a soft emotional type of album, but if you really go back and pay attention, you start realizing like, no, wait a minute, listen to the sound and like the size of those strings and those horns, and just like, again, all the stuff that he did with the the orchestra that backed him up on so many pieces. And he uses it so perfectly just when he wants to, he's doing the soft nature of the song, but when he wants to bring out the big emotion part of a track, he just brings that stuff in so smooth and it just creates this gigantic sound, but yet the song still feels so soft and mellow. It really is kind of the genius of Bruce. I mean, this is just a fantastic album. And Billy and I have joked, on and on and on. The entire album is great, but side three, it's a 2 LP set. Side three alone makes this album worth buying. Even if the other three sides were kind of throwaways, side three would make this album still worth buying and just worth owning. So songs like "Chasing Wild Horses," I mean, say a "Sundown" somewhere over Nashville or somewhere north of Nashville, and then "Stones." I would probably say "Chasing Wild Horses" and "Stones" are probably my two favorite songs on the album. But yeah, again, it's really hard to describe. You just have to go check it out. And the thing that I think is also important with this album is that with all that stuff I was just describing, this is an album that's made to be listened to on some type of the biggest sound stage that you have. Let's put it that way. Okay. So if you have, a nice little stereo system set up, do not go listen to this on your phone because you just, yeah, you may like it and that type of thing, but you won't really capture the power of the emotion with the music. Go to the biggest sound stage that you have within your house. If that's your computer speakers over your phone, if that's your stereo over this, if that's your other stereo, whatever your best system is, that's what you want to listen to this on. Because again, it's, man, when you allow this to just kind of fill the room when you're listening to it, it's just freaking moving stuff. And I always thought it was so stupid when I first saw the album and I saw the cover and I'm like, really? Like like that's what you came up with? But when you listen to the music on this album, especially, you go through the album, I don't know how many times I've listened to it since it came out, but the more you capture the emotion inside the album, you realize that cover freaking sums up all the emotion that's taking place inside of the album. Which may sound weird just by seeing a horse, trotting in the desert or rearing up in the desert like that. But if you really dive into this album, you'll realize it sounds like cheesy as hell, but it's just kind of true. The essence of everything that's caught up in that horse, in that moment, in that just like open, you know, just the power of the animal itself, the freedom of just kind of being open and out on the range, like just just everything that you would think emotionally would be wrapped up in that comes out in the way that Bruce lays out these songs on this album. So freaking cheesy, but it's also kind of cool to get that feeling once you actually listen to the album. Because again, I thought that cover was just so stupid when I first saw it. It didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so that's my 1-2 pick. And again, I hope maybe someone was introduced to something new through there. That would always be a great thing. So as always, thanks for watching, VC. Let me know again if you are a big Bruce Springsteen fan. I would be curious if you have heard that album yet or really kind of paid attention to it when it came out. Um, so yeah, let me know down below. All right, thanks for watching as always, guys. And again, Red, thanks for the heads up about this contest. And we'll talk to you soon.